Alright, well, welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be talking about the reason you are not making 100k plus a month with OFM yet. So it's going to be a bit of a short video, I think, but I mainly want to talk about, what I see a lot of people make mistakes at. And, even from my own experience, where I got stuck on the, 10k a month, 5k a month, the mistakes I made and so on. So first one is spending your time wisely. Now, a lot of people, they'll, obviously as a beginner, this is fine. Obviously, no one expects you to instantly have a whole team behind you. But one thing that I see a lot of people make the mistake of is not spending their time wisely. And what I mean by that is they'll be at let's say 5k a month, 10k a month, and they'll just be doing everything themselves. They'll be doing all these low ROI things, obviously doing marketing on Threads, Twitter, Reddit, all that stuff. That's fine, but they'll even be doing other things where it's they have to edit the videos themselves, they have to edit photos themselves, they have to do all these small extra things themselves, which can take time. When in reality, you could just be giving that to a VA to do for very cheap, and it could be done fast while you're doing something else that will actually have a better impact. And yeah, number two is this is a business. It should be able to make money without you being online. So this kind of comes down to spending your time wisely and outsourcing. If you don't have a team, a lot of people, and this is even a mistake I did, a lot of people when they reach 5k a month or 10k a month, maybe even a bit more, they're kind of just doing everything themselves, like I said. They don't really have a proper team behind them. Maybe they have one or two VAs for some things, but then everything else is just doing. And, like I said, sure, if you're doing this, it can make you 10k a month, maybe a bit more. But when there's days, obviously, at the end of the day, you're a human. There's going to be days where you feel sick, or there's going to be days where something happens, in your personal life, where you have to go do something, or maybe even you end up in the hospital, right? Anything can happen. And in days like that, if you're not online and you don't have a team behind you, that's where you're going to start slowing down. That's when you're going to start making less money. Then the model will start getting annoyed because you're making her less money, and maybe she'll even leave, and then you have to restart, right? So in situations like this, like I said, it's a business. It shouldn't rely on just you to make money. You should have a team, at least of a team enough where they can, keep it going, right? Let's say you make 1k a day on average revenue. If you leave for literally one day, and on that day you make only $300, that's clearly a big problem. Whereas if you leave and you still make 1k plus, then clearly, obviously you got a team that's handling it well, staying consistent with everything else, so yeah. Now, number three is outsourcing and scaling. These are all very similar topics, I'd say, but outsourcing and scaling, it is literally the most important thing when it comes to having a business. Like I put for number four there, hustling and working 18 hours a day won't get you 100k a month, right? If you're working 18 hours a day, doing everything yourself completely, maybe you've got chatting outsourced, but everything else you're doing yourself, that will maybe make you 10k a month, maybe 20k if you've got a good model. Maybe she's very hardworking as well, but chances of it making you any more than 20k a month is very low. And at some point, like I put for number two, at some point you're going to end up slowing down. When you do everything yourself, there's going to be days where, like I said, you feel sick, something bad happened in your personal life, or just in general, you're not able to work as many hours as usual on this day. And days like that is where you will slow down. So, yeah, sure. If your goal is 10k a month for now, then working, doing everything yourself is fine. But what will happen is, and this is once again from my own experience, is you end up in a loophole where, because you're doing everything yourself and you don't have much time to do new things, you're kind of just stuck at a certain mark. And then to outsource it now and scale your agency is going to be hard, because you're trying to do so many things at once, literally 100 things at once, where you'll just be confused on what to do next and how to scale. You'll think in your head oh, I'm doing everything right, but I'm only on 10k a month. And you will just be in a loophole where that's what happens. You're stuck at that place. You try to scale things, maybe you pick the wrong VAs, maybe you don't teach them well enough, and then they end up bringing you bad results as well, and then you just get stuck at that point where you're just going on a downhill basically. But yeah, like I was saying, outsourcing and scaling, you know, it is literally the most important part of a business. You do need it in order to succeed, like anywhere above 10K a month mark, you do need to do this. Like, it is literally the most important part. Like, you could literally have a bad model, right? Like, not the best looking model in the world, all of that stuff. But if you have a good team behind you, you can still make money from it. But yeah, you know, even for small things, right? Like, even if it's just something as simple as commenting on Twitter or commenting on threads, you know, which doesn't seem like a hard and long task to do. But having that one VA that does that for you every single day consistently, in the long run, will end up making you a lot more money than you know, maybe half-hearting it because you're trying to like rush through it. If you have a VA specifically for that job, they're obviously going to put some time into it, some effort into it, probably more than you maybe even. So yeah. And another thing is, like, obviously this is not really something that people do when they're on like 10K a month, but once you're scaling more, you know, another thing that's very important is having VA managers, right? Like, one thing that we do is, once we have a VA that's very good at something, let's just say Reddit, and he knows everything that we do, he understands exactly how it works, and so on. You know, having like, you can basically make that VA into a VA manager where he can teach and hire more VAs for you. Because obviously at certain points, when you're scaling your agency, let's just say you have 5 models and you want 10 Reddit accounts per model. Obviously that one VA is not going to be able to handle all of that. So at that point, you're going to have to hire more VAs. And instead of, you know, you spending your own time hiring each of those VAs one by one, you know, training them and so on, you can just pay that VA that already knows exactly what you know to do it for you. And once again, because you're paying him to do that job specifically, he'll probably put more effort into it than you would yourself. So having, you know, even doing that will make you a lot more money, because then, you know, you can spend your own time doing something else that might be more important than, you know, spending a few hours trying to find like the right VAs for it. You know, and this goes for everything, right? Like, even chatting, having a chatting manager is very important too. You know, like chatting, you know, the sales on Onlyfans is like one of the most important things in this business. So having someone that looks over the chatters like 24/7 basically is also very important. You know, make sure there's no issues and so on. You know, once again, if you were to do that yourself, you would be spending literally hours a day just sat there staring at a screen. Whereas, you know, if you have a manager for that, you know, they're getting paid for it, so they're happy to do it. But, you know, if you were to do that yourself, it's not really well worth your time. But yeah, that's pretty much it really for the video. Overall, you know, the main thing that I see people doing, the main issue that people have, even I had myself, is just not focusing enough on scaling and hiring a lot of people for your team. You know, like I said, it's a business. It shouldn't rely on you only to make money. You should be able to be asleep, right? Like, literally, like, be asleep and still make money. Like, a lot of people, they do the chat themselves, they do the marketing themselves, everything themselves, and it's like, obviously when you're starting, this is fine. But when you're actually scaling, trying to reach any more than 10K a month mark, it's one of the biggest mistakes you can make. And it's a mistake that I made in the past as well. You know, like, I literally went from like reaching 30K a month back down to like 10K a month, because I was doing literally like 90% of the things myself. Other than chatting, I was basically doing everything myself. You know, and when I realized like what that issue is, I solved it, and, you know, from there it's been a lot better. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy this video. Hopefully you learned something from it. I've got a free group and a private group as well. It will all be in the description if you guys want to join that. Make sure to go check it out. And yeah.